to 2000s Childhood Pop. My name is Mr. 96. 2.5 years ago when I started this series, I honestly had no idea where the hell I was going with it. At first, I created to give myself something other than modern pop music to review so I wouldn't get burned out like I did mid-2016, also to give me a reasonable excuse to do top 10 lists for past years. But after nearly 3 years of this spin-off, I think I finally found my purpose for 2000 CP. Yeah, 2019 was a bit of a coming out for this series. Besides the top 10 list, which always do well, my 2 song reviews before that were some of the most thorough and insightful videos I've ever done. I made one of my longest song reviews ever with my 10-year anniversary video for Sorry Sorry, which went over well with you guys. Even if not many of you actually saw it. On the other hand, I got to do an extensive review of Heaven by DJ Sammy and You Know with some unplanned assistance from the Radical Douche. Looking back, that was a pretty wild experience. Now that I think about it, 2000's Childhood Pop shouldn't be a sideshow to the main event. It should be the main event. These are songs, whether good or bad, that have stuck with me for at least a decade. Do you know how many thoughts build up over that span of time? If I'm gonna sacrifice views for something, it better be something I'm goddamn passionate about. And though our douche from Buenos Aires isn't here today, we won't be short on star power as we shift from the city with the widest street to a city in the smallest state.
Hey man, what's up?
Hey Sean, you wanna be my next guest on 2000's Childhood Pop?
Yeah, sure, that sounds like it could be fun. Why that and not some modern pop song, though?
Well, I had 1 slot left for the year, and I already have 4 years worth of pop reviews. It's not easy making it to episode 69.
Damn!
Sean?
It's just so pathetic. I mean, what kind of witless, desperate, 2-bit hack would ever do something like that? Wait, what the fuck?
Oh boy, that's better. Now I'm Mr. 96, and I... Oh, really? Yes? Tell me, what is your favorite K-pop song? Mic drop? Get out of here!
Hey, sorry about that. It's, just a dramatic flashback. It happens all the time. Anyway, what song did you want to talk about?
Candy Shop by 50 Cent.
Okay. Why?
Well, I'm not covering 2005 anytime soon, and the song, sucks.
Okay, sure. Why not?
But wait, you make top 10 videos, so I need to see if you're a worthy fit for a Mr. 96 song review. Can you guess what my favorite K-pop song is?
Step by Kara.
Wow, I was gonna give you 3 minutes to figure it out, but okay. It's almost like you were expecting this to come up.
Oh, I wouldn't know anything about that.
But more importantly, we need to talk about 50 Cent.
Do we, though?
Well, if you want to talk K-pop, I have multiple avenues I can take.
So, here's the interesting thing about 50 Cent. You'd think that it would be impossible to think of 2000s hip-hop without thinking of 50 Cent. After all, his breakthrough hit, Into Club, was the single biggest song of 2003, single-handedly shifting the crosshairs of the music world onto the club where they stayed for the next decade. He had the best-selling album in both 2003 and 2005, and he managed to rack up 9 top 5 hits between those years. 50 was one of the biggest musical forces of the decade, and yet if you asked an average listener today about the hip-hop of the 2000s, they're more likely to remember the music of Timbaland, Jay-Z, Nelly, T.I., or even the friggin' Black Eyed Peas before they look back fondly on 50 Cent.
Yeah, someone who didn't hear Into Club until many years after the fact, I have almost no memory of 50 Cent from a casual perspective. Which is strange, because I remember him being on that one Eminem song in 2009, yet I can't particularly remember how his part goes. Fun fact, Crack a Bottle was my first introduction to Eminem.
God, it's like your introduction to Stevie Wonder being this.
I just called to say I love you.
Like, it's not the worst possible introduction you could have gotten, but it was, well, let's just say suboptimal.
And speaking of suboptimal, let me show you the first 50 Cent song I ever heard.
Welcome to the candy shop.
Actually, I didn't discover this song on my own. The truth is that I knew of the song because I found some crappy YouTube parody in elementary school.
I'll take you to the candy shop. I'll let you lick the chili pop.
This is what all YouTube was like in the 2000s, kids.
We've come so far since then.
And you know I kick them out if they ain't with the crew.
can have it your way. How do you want it?
As for me personally, I've got no real history with this song. I became aware of its existence through cultural osmosis. I recognized the beat and the hook, though I couldn't tell you where I first heard it. I talked about a Charlie Puth cover when I made my Worst of 2016 video, and that's really about it.
Wait, there's a Charlie Puth cover?
We'll talk about it later. However, even though the song itself doesn't really have much meaning to me, I still find it very intriguing as a sort of crossroads between several different musical trends of the mid-2000s. First of all, if indie club was the genesis of the club genre, then Candy Shop was the first step on the road to the genre's total ubiquity.
By 2010 to 2011, the genre became incredibly overwhelming to where it was nearly every song. It was so massive in volume, it only made sense that it would die an even more painful death by the middle of the decade. Still, it's kind of hard to imagine that a genre that lasted an entire decade essentially started with this.
You can have it your way. How do you want it? You gon' back that thing up or should I push up on it?
Like, where's the party? Who would dance to this? The vibe is so apathetic, the only people who would dance to this are the same people who would do the lean back, which, let's be real, no one did that.
So seductive.
Yeah, not really. Sure, maybe it's different if you're a girl, but I just can't see what anyone would find seductive about something like this. As a straight man, I have no problem saying Claude from Three Houses is sexy as but Biddy and Candy Shop does nothing for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that no matter what your preference or orientation may be, the one thing that we can all agree on is that disinterest is a turnoff. And however much the lyrics might try to convince you otherwise, it's impossible to shake the vibe that Fiddy just doesn't care about what he's saying. Granted, the guy has always sounded like he's Xanaxed out of his mind, right from the very beginning, but at least songs like Inda Club and PIMP have a beat and structure that have some sort of inherent excitement or fun built into them. On Candy Shop, here's the beat he's given to work with.
Yeah.
Sean,
Yeah?
I have a confession to make.
Okay.
This episode's not really about 50 Cent.
Oh,
I just need an excuse to rip on Scott Storch.
alright.
So you're just okay with me changing the focus of the episode?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, did you have more to say about 50 Cent?
No, I've been done with him for a while. So anyways, Scott Storch. For those of you who don't know who he is, Scott Storch was a producer who started as an underling of Timbaland before going on to make countless hit songs in the 2000s on his own. I bring this up because he produced Candy Shop, so a majority of the problems with this song can be attributed to him.
I take you to the candy shop. I let you lick the lollipop.
Just listen to this pseudo-exotic riff. It's like it's trying to be a Bollywood song while also sounding sluggish, constipated, and restrained because apparently it's too cool to have any fun. Remember when I said that Candy Shop was made for the people who do the lean back? That was also a Scott Storch song.
And the sad part is that the constipated Bollywood sound is really the only thing that makes Storch unique. Whenever he deviates from that, his beats are some of the most stock, simple, unimpressive beats in any genre that he tackles. Whether it be the garage band guitar backing in Fighter by Christina Aguilera, or the boring-ass backing synths in Let Me Love You by Mario. But it's not all bad, though. I mean, in the end, we did get one absolutely fantastic Scott Storch beat. And you know what the craziest part is? He wasn't even the one who made it.
I'm a real producer and you just a piano man.
If you didn't know, Give It To Me was a diss track that became a hit song in 2007, but in Timbaland's verse, he was aiming directly at Scott Storch. Not only did he roast Storch lyrically, but he even beat him at his own game by essentially making a Scott Storch beat that sounded 3 million times better than the actual thing. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I realize that 50 Cent is less a root cause of Candy Shop failing and more of a consequence of the awful beat Storch gave him.
It's like it's a race who could get undressed quicker. Isn't it ironic how erotic it is to watch in thongs?
Don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not saying he sounds good here, but 50 Cent is the kind of guy who makes things worse in an uninteresting kind of way. His songs rely on the beat he's given, so whether they're good or bad, Biddy is never the driving force behind either. The only time he fails spectacularly is when he tries to throw a baseball.
And his first pitch was not great. Just a bit outside.
So here you have a boring beat and a boring rapper, neither of which have any notable features to speak of, and so to make the song interesting, there's only one thing left to make it stand out. Candy-themed sexual innuendos!
Innuendos? Where?
I take you to the candy shop. I I let you lick the lollipop.
One of the worst trends to come out of the 2000s was candy-themed sex songs. Since this hit #1, plenty of other people hopped on the bandwagon. Honestly, do you think Laffy Taffy by D4L or Lollipop by Lil Wayne would have become big hits had Candy Shop not existed? I don't think I have to explain why the candy sex concept is pretty disgusting, but hey, at least the fast food trend didn't take off.
So seductive, you should see the way she whine. Her hips in slow-mo on the floor when we grind.
Also, it's kind of funny how this song sort of kicked off the trend of candy-themed sex jams when it couldn't even manage to stay on topic halfway through. Sort of like this review.
Yeah, you may have noticed that this review has been kind of all over the place, but honestly, that's just because the song itself is by far the least interesting thing about Candy Shop. Hell, there's a female vocalist doing the hook, and we didn't even mention her because there's just nothing to mention. It might seem like just another shitty club song that didn't age well, but the fact is that Candy Shop isn't as much a song as it is just a 10-car pileup of different elements and tropes that defined hip-hop of the mid-2000s. Pretty much every aspect of this song is part of some larger trend, and you'd think that would make this song a defining touchstone of that era of music, but it's just not. It's a song that means everything in the macro and yet nothing in the micro, and while it might serve as an interesting history lesson in the present, it's also a proof that context really can't save a song if the quality isn't there to back it up.
When I look back at the 2000s, I often do so with fondness for many songs, but those nostalgia goggles have zero effect on Candy Shop. It has no groove, and it's unsexy in the way that it doesn't try to be sexy. This song will always be my quintessential example for why Scott Storch shouldn't make pop music. I give this song a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, low 2 out of 10 sounds about right. This is definitely well within the terrible tier for me, though I do have to admit, it could be worse. It could be sung by Charlie Puth.
I'll take you to the candy shop. I'll let you lick the lollipop.
Oh, what is this?
Well, just like the original, it's an utterly worthless piece of music, and ultimately, when all is said and done, there's only one question left to answer. Why the hell did you choose this to talk about again?
Because it's Halloween? Candy Shop?
You know what, screw it, I've seen weaker connections. In any case, thanks for having me on, man. This was a lot of fun. Certain encounters notwithstanding.
Wanna wear Halloween costumes for the thumbnail?
Sure. Wow, this sure was a lot of fun. Don't you think so, 96?
You know, Mr. 96 is not one who forgets misgivings.
I'm sorry, what?
Perhaps that should teach you not to engage in the Freaky Friday ritual.
Oh my god!
Did you really think you could elude me this entire time?
No, please, have mercy on me, I'm begging you!
Oh, how relaxing. Pop songs may be fine, but life is better with 69.
No, it isn't!
Shut up.
너의 그 말 그 잔인한 말 가슴 아픈